Hello and welcome to our Just Mercy interview series. Today it's my pleasure to introduce Ailsa Mackinnon. Ailsa's the Executive Director of Mercy Works. For those who aren't familiar with Mercy Works, Ailsa, can you just tell us a little bit about your work?
Yes, okay, thanks John. Mercy Works is the development organisation of the Sisters of Mercy across Australia and Papua New Guinea, and it's actually the development of an organisation of all the Sisters of Mercy in Australia and Papua New Guinea, not just the Institute. So all the groups contribute to us and are sponsors of us, and they are the people who allow us to kind of do our work basically. So we're really dependent upon the Sisters of Mercy and the very many organisations of mercy across Australia and Papua New Guinea to be the people who look after us. As a development organisation, we belong to the Australian Council for International Development, which means that we ascribe to their code of conduct, and so we have strict monitoring and evaluation processes for all of our projects across Australia and Papua New Guinea and East Timor.
What are some of those projects and where are they based?
Yeah, well, we have a number in Papua New Guinea. That's basically how the idea of starting a development organisation started, because of the work in Papua New Guinea. The Sisters of Mercy had been there for 50 years, and so they said, let's do something different. We'd been involved in education and healthcare and social welfare for those 50 years. Let's go into development. And the whole concept of development is to work with local people and help them to live sustainable lives. So it started in Goroka, and then it went to Mount Hagen, and then also over to Kiunga, over on the Western Province. And subsequent to that, we've also been doing some projects in Wewak. And more recently, some large donors have put a lot of money into work that we're doing, and we're currently building a number of dormitories across different parts of Papua New Guinea. We also have projects in Timor-Leste, in the Diocese of Maliana, and we've built a whole lot of preschools, and we've trained the teachers, and we provide nutritional food for the people in the preschools, and then also we're helping the education system to get itself up and running. In Australia, we have refugee projects. It's called Mercy Connect in Sydney and Melbourne and Ballarat and Perth, and we have a House of Welcome in Adelaide. And then we also fund projects for Aboriginal people, particularly preschools in Bathurst Island and Alice Springs. And then our latest initiative is the Mercy Access Program, which is a mentoring program for Aboriginal children in schools at Shepparton.
With the Papua New Guinean projects, apart from education, what areas are you involved with there in terms of development?
Well, the whole concept of development is you ask the local people what they want, and then if we can help them, you help them to do their work. In Kiunga, for example, one of the big things that we're doing is the whole concept of a whole projects of village health. And it started off as in terms of assisting maternal health with mums and babs when they were being born, and then that's continued into a more comprehensive village health program, making sure that there are pit toilets, that there are water tanks, and that there are clean facilities for people to do their cooking. And then also in Kiunga we have a program for domestic violence, trying to prevent domestic violence, because as you know, domestic violence is a serious issue up in Papua New Guinea. In both Mount Hagen and Goroka, we go into the prisons and helping to rehabilitate the prisoners by providing them with skills training of various types, so that when they come out of prison, they'll have some type of skill whereby they can rehabilitate and get back into society. Also, we have water projects in Papua in Mount Hagen and in Wewak, providing lots of water tanks for the people in the local villages so that they can have access to clean water. One of the interesting initiatives up in Goroka is that as part of this skills training with the local people, they're also teaching them how to budget, how to open up bank accounts, and so how to kind of establish little small businesses. Every 2 weeks they have these what they call mercy markets. So instead of going to the local markets, the people who've been involved in the programs in Goroka can go and sell their goods at Mercy markets.
How do you receive your funding? Do you receive any government funding, or are you all through fundraising and self-funded?
Yes, we don't receive any government funding, and that's one of the big stresses associated with Mercy Works, receiving enough money to be able to fund our projects. And it's kind of like hand to mouth each year from year to year. And luckily, we're continuing to go. The congregations themselves are very generous in giving us some money. A number of the Sisters of Mercy give us money. There are, across Australia, there's probably about 350 schools that have had a Mercy heritage. They do fundraising for us. We do community education in those places as well, because that's also part of our brief as a member of ACFID, to do community education. But we'd like to think that the Sisters of Mercy in particular regard Mercy Works as the go-to organisation to give their money to, because the money is very well spent and it's very well monitored and evaluated. We know that the projects are really being very well run. There are other large donors that we're seeking. The Old Dart Foundation is one of the organisations that I mentioned up in Papua New Guinea. And then other organisations across Australia, we're continually applying for grants, and sometimes successful, sometimes you're unsuccessful.
Because from what you've described, it seems like the actual need is growing.
Oh, for sure. Yes, it is. And in fact, the board has commissioned an evaluation of our work in Papua New Guinea this year, because we've been there for over 10 years. And we need to evaluate as to what we're doing, how we're going, and whether we can do things differently. And in the meantime, we've had a request from the Bishop in Chimbu to be involved there, and also the Bishop in Wewak to be more involved there. So the potential to expand is just there. Finding the money and finding the personnel is the issue.
Are you able to provide us with an example of the work that you've done and the impact that it's made on an individual's life?
One example that came to my mind immediately was there's this, up in Mount Hagen, one of the projects they do there is they have these assistants to these boys who are called taxi boys. And the taxi boys are little boys, mostly homeless, and they try and get any amount of money by carrying heavy loads into the markets, and the person who's running the market might give them a kina or 2 kinas for the day or something like that. Mercy Works in Mount Hagen had this project with them to be with these boys and to kind of give them some type of informal education, and gradually to kind of get them into proper education, and to get them into sporting activities. Like, first of all, they developed an AFL team with them. It was called the Mercy Swans, because the Sydney Swans assisted them, but now it's moved into soccer, and so that's a way of kind of creating something for these boys to do. Now, there's one particular boy who had been in the program for a while, and now he's in full-time school, and he's in what the equivalent would be Year 11. And just recently, before the PNG elections were on just a little while ago, the government was passing a bill to outlaw child labour. And that little boy, who is now in Year 11, was asked to go to Parliament to talk about his experience of being sort of taken out of child labour and into proper education.
If someone out there is watching this and they wanted to contribute to the ongoing work of Mercy Works, how would they do that?
Very simple. We have a website, www.mercyworks.org.au, and you can go to that website and you can donate on there. And we're on Facebook, so you can contact us through Facebook. Telephone number 02 for Sydney 95641911. We'd be most willing to answer the phone call and show you how to give money to us. And you can be assured that the money will be very well spent.
Ailsa, thank you very much for your time today, and
Pleasure,
thanks
John.
for outlining the wonderful work that you're doing, and good luck with your ongoing work.
Thank you. Thanks very much, John.